Being order. Rise for our invitation.
Lord, we have so much to be thankful for today. Thank you for this great nation. Thank you for this great community that we live in. Lord, for our leaders, those that decide, those that protect, those that do things that we have elected and just chosen them to do for us. We pray you'll be glorified by all we do and say. We rely on you. We trust in you and your word today. And we give you praise in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any changes to the agenda? We do have a couple of changes. We did republish it, but we had an item earlier under discussion that was the wage scales in 2027 budget. We want to move that down to study session. And then we need to add an action item at the end for the Brown Grant Theater window restoration quote. It's actually related to the tax credit sales. Move to approve the agenda as amended. Second. There's been a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to public comments. This is a time where citizens are encouraged to speak publicly. We request that you come to the podium and state your name and address, speak respectfully, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. The commission will listen and consider your comments, but no immediate action will be taken at this time. Are there any public comments? If not, moving on to our discussion agenda, and we do not have that tonight. So moving on to our action agenda, the minutes of the July 15th, 2026 meeting, 13 budget meetings, and July 29th special meeting.
I move
to approve. Go ahead, Christy.
I move to approve the minutes of July 15th, 2026, budget meeting minutes of July 13th, and the special meeting minutes of July 29th.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Appropriation ordinance number 14.
I move to approve appropriation ordinance number 14.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve appropriation ordinance number 14. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed. Sorry about that. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Now on to lien documents for lots 1 through 4, Block B, St. Joseph subdivision.
Mayor and Commissioners, this is similar to an action that we took a few months ago related to the infill home at 429 West 8th Street. So what we run into is as we're using local builders, they have to cash flow a large portion of the project. We do have some incentive available to the builders, but it's small in relation to the equipment and the remainder of the materials and the labor that they have to put forth. So they have to go to banks and get construction loans. And one of the things that the construction loan company requires is to be able to put a mortgage lien against that property while they're building it. Because the land bank owns the property, we get involved in that process. And so what this consent and estoppel agreement says is that in order for the builder to access the construction loan funds, we have to consent to a mortgage lien encumbering the property. However, this does not obligate the city or the land bank to repay the contractor's loan, construction loan, and it does not take away our governmental immunity. So that's not waived. So we still have our protections in place. We have an agreement directly with the builder, even though they're partnered with JR and Sons. We also have an agreement with JR and Sons, so we feel like we're protected through that agreement if the homes aren't finished being constructed before they're sold. Presently, these lots, the builders are preferring to try to pre-sell the lots first, so we are doing a little bit more heavy advertising with those lots. If they're able to pre-sell the lots, there is that additional $28,000 of down payment incentive available to the buyers in addition to the $10,000 that we have available through the MIH grant. And so that we want to try to optimize that for the home buyers as much as possible. As of right now, we don't have any approved applications on the books, but we want to make sure that everything's in place so that when those applications come in, the builder's ready to build and ready to go on those homes. So this will be just for these 4 lots. That's the only lots that we have the agreement with this builder in place for. Are there any questions?
Jog my memory, we've done this before. We did it with Central National Bank. And what was that for?
429 West Eighth Street. It's the infill home. That's
Okay.
related to the MIH project as well.
Okay.
And then, after you approve this, then we have a land bank meeting following, and it'll be the same type of action, but by the land bank trustees. So two separate boards have two separate actions.
And our only, like, the absolute worst case scenario, if I remember from last time, is if for some reason the home wouldn't sell or the loan defaults, we lose the plot of land that the house is built on. Is that,
That's
No. I didn't remember.
I did not look that up before I came over. I'm sorry. I need to go back and look at that. I don't think we lose it because because we're not responsible to pay the loan, but then the bank would be responsible to sell the house. We'd have to find another builder. So the agreement that we have with the builders is they can, they'd have to repay any incentives that we provided to them. And then we could hire somebody else to finish it or sell it as is. So that's the way that our agreement with the builders is written, but I don't think we lose the property for this, but I'll go back and double check that.
I would say not very likely, just like
No.
litter all the.
No, there's a lot of protection on the front end that goes into making sure that the home buyers are qualified and they qualify for financing. And if the builder decides to go ahead and build even without a buyer identified, then the risk is on them. So there's really not a lot of risk to the city overall in this project. The goal is to get homes built, and this is one way that we can continue toward that effort.
I move to authorize the mayor to sign the required mortgage lien documents for the city's property at lots 1 through 4, Block B, St. Joseph subdivision.
Second,
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Authorize signing of FAA agreement for the box hangar.
And commissioners, we're pleased to bring to you this final grant associated with the box hanger project we began several years ago. If you'll recall, this 80 by 80 box hanger that's now completed and in use was the result of multiple multi-year grants that included a couple of look back grants, which means that even after the construction was completed, we could look back on the grant and be able to capture some funds from the FAA to help with cover the cost. In this case, this final grant is a 95-5 split between the FAA and the city. And so for this grant, the city would receive $104,314 from the FAA toward the project, and we provide a cash match of $5,490. So in order to accept these funds, we do have to have this agreement signed by August 28th. There's multiple signers, including myself and the city attorney. And then as soon as this project is done, we're done with the box hanger completely, and we can start building our funds to go toward future projects. Future projects that are on the slate at the airport include additional T hangers, they include construction of the fuel farm, they include additional concrete apron, and then eventually we'll have to go ahead and reseal the taxiway and update our master plan, but those are the ones that are on the docket next.
I move to authorize the city manager to sign the grant agreement associated with the FAA AIP grant offer, grant number 3-20-0013-024-2006 for Blosser Municipal Airport in the amount of $104,314. That's a big number.
It is a big number.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. The CMB license for K Fast Track LLC.
So each year, any business selling cereal malt beverage must apply for a license. These are then sent to the KBI, which does background check to look for any felonies or other reasons the business should not sell. K Fast Track 4 has requested the license and has passed their background check and requirements.
Is Cape Fast Track 4, is that like the racetrack here? What is it? I tried to look it up and I couldn't.
The one in town is called Concordia Stop. It's at 203 East 6th Street. That's what it's
East Sixth Street, so Woodaway.
What? Okay, so that's their okay.
Oh. Yeah, I thought it was a racetrack.
Based on the name, I looked at.
Yeah, I
I
couldn't
couldn't
find.
figure out. Okay.
I move to approve the 2026 CMB license for K Fast Track 4 LLC.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Brown Grand Theater window restoration quotes. Reduced scope.
Mayor and Commissioners, I believe that I messed up on this memo when I sent it to Latasha. She did a great job putting everything together, and I messed up the heading. So the date on this should be today's date, August 4th, and the item should be related to the Brown Grant Theater window restoration, but it should be tax credit, sale of tax credits. So if we'll recall, we've been at this project for a little over a year, looking to try to find a way to replace the windows. In June, we had you approve a reduced scope quote for Sprouse Construction pending the sale of tax credits, and that reduced scope was for $150,000 total. We found money in the CIP budget as well as the tax credits, and then any remainder coming from reserve, very small amount. In March, we received approval for participation in the state rehabilitation tax credit program for $100,000 at a rate of 40%, which means that we would actually receive 40% of 100,000, so $40,000. And then that gets further reduced slightly based on a percentage sale that you could sell the tax credits for. So whether it's 80, 85, 90, or 95% cents on the dollar, it gets reduced a little bit more, but it's still money and it functions like a grant. Let's see, we were referred to clock tower tax credits. Monty Wentz and Melissa Swenson had experience working with them before, came highly recommended. So I've called and visited with the gentleman here about it. It made a lot of sense. They've had a lot of experience with historic tax credits in particular. So they weren't afraid of our project. They thought it was a great small project that could help get some of their investors involved. They work with Fortune 1000 companies primarily. And so monetization of the tax credits functions like a reimbursable grant. So we have to go and complete the project first, and then we can get the money back and have it be repaid. So your authorization of Sprouse Construction to go ahead and proceed with the project, we need to let him go ahead and do that work. Once it's complete, we take the photos, we turn in the final report to SHPO, and they say, yes, you did the scope of work that you said you were going to do. Yes, it's complete. Then they'll hand us the certificate for tax credits, and then we take it to Clock Tower, and then they convert it into money, and they send us the cash back at the rate they promised us. So we need to, similar to what we do with grant agreements, like what you just did with the FAA grant agreement, we need to engage in this letter of commitment with them in order for them to lock us into this project. And so we have a commitment from them that they are going to handle these tax credits for us. And once our project's complete, they'll monetize it for us. Chris Sprouse said he can go ahead and start the work here in September, but it won't be complete until February or March. So we want to make sure that we get somebody locked in right now so we know that that money is coming, and then go ahead and proceed with the project. So today we're asking for your approval and acceptance of the letter of commitment from Clock Tower tax credits for the purchase of the rehabilitation tax credits related to the Brown Grants window restoration project.
And do we have a monetary commitment then to clock tower tax credits?
So then we would be committing to them that, yes, we would have to facilitate the sale of the tax credits. So they will take care of the sale of them. They will take care of the rate that gets reimbursed, and they will have a small fee associated with that. That's how they make their money. Other questions?
I move to accept the letter of commitment from Clock Tower Tax Credits to facilitate the sale of the city's Kansas Historic Rehabilitation Tax Credits awarded to the window repair project at the Brown Grand Theater.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Moving into reports, managers report.
We held our employee appreciation luncheon last Wednesday, and just want a special thanks to John for opening up the fire department bays, Chris for taking care of the grill, and then to Latasha and her team for helping to prepare all the side dishes and all the food and making sure that all the employees got noticed. We invited all of our full-time staff as well as our seasonal staff, so it was important to make sure that everybody had an opportunity to come have lunch, and fairly well attended. Not everybody chooses to come, but those that do, I think, enjoy it. So I really appreciate that. We did also do some preparation this week for easement acquisitions related to our KDOT sidewalk project. Recall we received that $1 million grant that pays for 100% of design and construction, but we have to acquire a few, actually 18 temporary easements and 4 permanent easements of very small scope to make sure that we have room to work for the new sidewalks and pedestrian crossings. So we've gathered all the information this week. I've got to have Justin take a look at it. Once he does, we can do the scheduling meetings with those property owners and they can consider the offer and ask questions about the project, make sure they're comfortable with it. The goal is to get those done by early September, and then we can proceed with the next step with KDOT and manage the consultant to get the drawings approved and be ready for bid letting. Bid letting is scheduled for December 16th of this year, and construction will happen in 2027.
2027.
Yes.
So will it be in place, do you expect, in time for school to start next year?
The fall of 2027, the 2027-28 school year, everything should be in place around the school year. That's the goal.
And since it's sidewalks, will that impact traffic during pickup and drop off for that middle school?
I think that we were going to try to do the work that would be closest to that area after school let out in May. So it might seem like nothing's happening next spring, but strategically starting that at the end of May, bidding it in December so the contractors can get it on their schedule early. We can block in those start dates, and then as soon as school is out, begin work in those areas. The only way that it might stop traffic is that part of it is crosswalk painting and installation of signs around crosswalks. So we might have some reduced lane widths on some of the streets and put those pieces in, but the rest of the work occurs on the sidewalks.
Okay, any questions about manager's report? If not, we will move to staff reports.
Monitoring 7th Street in Doster, it looks like it'll be open for traffic from Church to Matthew and Doster Street from 6 to 7 before school starts. So they're just laying down the last bit of asphalt to get that accomplished. The road will still be closed from Church to Cloud. They are actively working on tearing that out also. Same process, so it's exciting. Everything's going really well. And yeah, so.
Can you give us a tree update?
So been talking to Barry's and helping by landscape, and the plan is to get the trees planted beginning of September, end of August. We have some planter boxes that still need some tops to them, but had other jobs that had to prioritize. But everything should be done before all this.
And I guess the reason I asked, it seems as though our potholes are really out of control right now.
And I've had crews going around, they've been patching around the schools to get that ready
Okay.
before school. Just as soon as we had a street on 11th Street we need to get fixed because that's a main road between schools. We're gonna be working on that tomorrow. And we have a couple others at the water department. They had a water leak and it's routed those streets also, so we need to get those under control first. So, yeah, I plan on putting guys out patching constantly. I just need about 10 more guys.
Don't we all?
A little bit update, we just finished up reapplying for our license for animal control, for the animal shelter. Everything looks good. They should be sending us the license here in a week or so. So that's all completed, so we're good for another year. Police department wise, we're gearing up for school to start. You'll start to be seeing a lot of Facebook posts on school bus safety, bicycle safety, all that. Getting everybody prepared, getting the drivers used to a lot of kids on the street and a lot of cars, especially around 11th Street, elementary, high school, that area. We did have, last weekend, we did have our scooter safety. Well, there wasn't a lot of people that showed up, but it was a good experience. I'm hoping that the word will get out there a little bit more. We're planning on having another one here, maybe late fall or early spring again, so.
Do you feel like the the thing that we passed, you know, with the guidance for scooters and such, do you feel like that's made any difference?
Absolutely, I've probably only seen, and Lieutenant, you can chime in, is we've probably only seen a couple that didn't have the helmets on, and we stopped and had a conversation with them. And next time we've seen them, they had helmets on.
Yeah,
So,
that's the thing that I have really noticed. Not that they're not zipping around,
Yeah,
but
yes,
they're
yeah.
wearing helmets.
I feel that they're probably being a lot safer, at least the core group that is taking this serious. But we haven't had a lot of complaints about not following the rules right now. So.
I haven't heard anybody complain.
Yeah, so no, I think it was a great thing, and I think the parents are even really taking it serious as well. So,
Good, thank you.
thank you.
Other staff reports. Moving on to mayor commissioner reports. Amy?
I do have a question for Jeremy. We had, or maybe, well work on well 21 recently, or that was like in the past month. What was wrong with that? I was curious.
Was it in the appropriation?
Yeah.
That was replacing the electric box.
For the well. Which well is that?
The one east of town on, that goes past Johnston Auto. Just about a mile east of town.
Anything else? Chuck, I'm gonna jump to you. Anything?
The only thing that I had a couple folks reach out and just express some concerns with the cemetery, maybe some needed attention out that way. So just pass that along.
They're weed eating. That, yes, and the two pictures were already addressed.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck. Portia?
I was curious about the Sears building. Is he?
Tim's not here.
Tim's not. I can't see the side of the podium.
I can tell you that the public hearing, I believe, is scheduled for their first meeting in September. And we do know that the owners have secured a structural engineer to begin looking at it. So we know that progress is being made.
Good.
That's I don't have anything.
And I want to welcome Cheryl Lanu for coming. Thank you for running and thank you for being here. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Now, you know, there is an election.
Oh, yeah, in November. But thank you for coming and thank you for running all of these things. So I appreciate you coming to learn a little bit about our current business. With that, we will move on to our information agenda, and that is in your packet, the second quarter financial report. Anything you'd like to call out on that?
Good. Any questions on it?
Yes, thank you. Now moving on to executive session for non-elected personnel.
I move that the city commission recess into executive session to discuss confidential business data or trade secrets of a business KSA 75-4319 B4 with Amy Lang and Justin Farrell in attendance and reconvene in the city commission chambers at 6:12. 6:12.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to move into executive session. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Chuck, I will give you a call. Okay, no action was taken.
I move that we recess into executive session for the previous reasons for a period of 5 minutes, returning at 6:17.
You read wrong, Reader. So actually you can read what you were in there for and what you're going in for. Yeah. Okay.
I move that the city commission recess into executive session to discuss employment personnel issues pursuant to the non-elected personnel matter, exception KSA 75-4319B1, with Amy Lang and Justin Farrell in attendance, and to reconvene in the city commission chamber at
6:20.
6:20 p.m.
That's also the second discuss. There's a motion and a second. Is any further discussion? Seeing none, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. No action was taken.
I move to approve the mayor to sign the interim city manager employment agreement with Glenn Roden as interim city manager to include a stipend for lodging, meals, and mileage.
Second.
Been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, we'll now entertain a motion to adjourn into study session.
So moved.
Second.
Been a motion and a second to adjourn into study session. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. We are now in study session.
Okay, so I printed off and laid on your counter there the items. So where we left off last time, I left the 2.7% COLA in the budget that was already in there. I put the option for health insurance in there, which starts employee only plans paying $50 a month. And that savings of the increase, so still an increase, but the savings from the budget that you saw is $9,745 for the general fund. So that went into the pot that we're talking about for the scales. And we also determined to keep the mill levy the same as it currently is, which was a change from the budget you saw first of 1 mil. So that added up to $49,970 that is set aside for the scale review. So on the scale options, those, the summary page, in the highlighted yellow, it shows the dollar amount for the general fund specifically, or at the end of the column in total. But for each of the ones that we had already talked about, and then we added an option of 1% for the first year between the 6-month increases, 1.25% through year 10, and then 1.5% after that for longevity. So that's kind of what we discussed, and that's still keeping 5% going down. And so that option was $40,815 out of the general fund. Then we did one, same thing, but on the police department, they would all shift down one line on the scale, and that would be where they would start in those positions going forward if we did that. And that's similar to what we did for the dispatch a few years ago, I think. And that total was $68,883 to the general fund. And then the last option, same with the police department, we shifted the top 3 positions down one line and left patrol on the same line, but still with this other change of the 1.25, 1.5. And that was $51,092. If you wanted to do more than the 49,000. What it was, then any additional amount would just come from moving things around in budgets. It's not final transfers or reserves or. Their options, but. Any questions on those options? And like we said, Ebola and all of these changes wouldn't go into effect until November. The second meeting of November is when we plan to actually have the item to pass it for the next year. But for budget purposes. And I tried to kind of show that's what the top part is the fire department. These are the two that brought this to us initially, the fire department, police department, the lowest paid employee, how each of those affects them, and the highest paid employee. And that's of people that we actually have on the payroll right now, not just, I mean, because you could be paid more than that. Those are the bottom, I think, on both of the lowest paid though. So it kind of shows what it would be like for an hourly and for an annual increase at each of those options.
A question that I had that kind of came to mind, and I don't know if this is a different conversation, but given the information that we have that we'll be seeking another city manager and be hiring an interim city manager, are the funding for those positions, we obviously weren't budgeting for those when we had conversation at our budget meeting. So is that, do we need to consider that as part of this overall conversation that we're having now?
And I'm not certain what you just passed for the cost difference between this interim and Amy, but I would assume, I don't know what a full-time person would be compared to her current salary either, so I don't know. I mean, obviously she was budgeted for the whole year at her current salary, so I would assume a new person would come in at maybe a little less or maybe not to make the difference of whatever this interim additional is.
I would hope so, but we've not been shopping for a city manager for a while. So I guess if we had to, does that money, if it ends up being something different than that, does it just come from reserves or does it come from adjusting the budgets where we still, I just don't want to get in the way of having this conversation if it's going to be a moot point because we need to take that money and put it elsewhere.
It would probably be reserves, but I don't think it would be a big amount. But and also when this actually, so you can decide whatever now, and then when it's actually final in November, if it did turn out to be a big difference or issue, then you can change it then. I mean, you can adjust what you plan to pass then.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Okay, so that sounds agreeable as to put in place what we're hoping to get to, but if adjustments are made, just understand everyone in this room and directors that adjustments might have to be made, but we're just at this point budgeting.
Things don't have to be necessarily budget line items. Don't have to necessarily be moved around today if we make, like making those decisions in November for next year. So for instance, if we needed to take additional money from like the equipment reserve fund, do we have to decide that before the budget's adopted?
If you changed, right, so we are gonna, if we say this is good, then we're going to adopt the budget next, or September 2nd would be the public hearing of the budget. So yeah, then that part would be set. So transfers would be set type of thing. You could do a budget amendment on that, but.
So we would have to do a budget amendment if we.
If you wanted to do less, I guess.
But if you were gonna do more, you would have to.
Yeah.
On any item that you would
So I
change.
guess you'd be probably considering less transfers, so then that would be fine.
That would be fine to not do an amendment.
Yeah, we just want to make sure we have authorization to do the amounts for budget.
money is what it is. There's not gonna be more of it, so. As we're establishing the middle somewhere.
So with that in mind, and to make sure we aren't raising our mill, although recognizing we'll be above budget or revenue neutral rate by accepting the float of assessed value, I think I would be looking at that standardized original to help with those increases. Is there any discussion or what are your all thoughts on that?
I think we need to go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
I'd like to do what we can to support our staff, but we also have an obligation to maintain, our responsibilities to taxpayers. So what we can do with that, I think makes sense.
Yes, I mean, just knowing, without having to increase the mill levy and knowing what we have to work with, I've been trying to get thought to where else that could come from. And I mean, like departments would have to all, I guess, be okay with that too. But I mean, if we took it from a few different departments, so right now we're on a cycle of every 4 years for vehicles. Is that right? Like a new vehicle every 4 years? Like if we changed it to every 5 versus 4, like what does that free up?
We're trying to get down to every 5 with each department.
So we're at 6
Or to 25, yeah.
to 20. Yeah, realistically, there's not a lot of wiggle room there, or like, with the expiration, we have a bond expiring in 2029. That frees up some monies at that time, but then that would limit potentially our long-term bond capacity as well. So I guess just exploring all of those things to try to find the money somewhere. Obviously it has to come from somewhere else to do that. Not a lot to work with extra,
There's not a lot to work with extra. And if we look at like our CIP, we do a tremendous amount of that with grant funding. So, it's the projects people want to see done. We look to outside sources to be helpful there. So slimming anything in that direction. Yeah,
I don't see that you could take it from.
right.
Slimming. Guaranteed reserves would be the only other.
Sure. Cool. That gets scary.
It does. It's trying to explore all the ways. Fishing for more ideas too, if anybody has some different thoughts.
So the one Ashley is proposing, I believe, is the 5% going down and then 1.25% across on all steps.
To maximize what we can do at this time.
Yeah.
Discussion on that? Do you need anything else from us, Amber?
If we're good with that, yeah. So then the budget basically that you see there is what we'll publish the notice, then we'll send it to paper this week, so it's in next week's paper through the September 2nd.
Thank you. Don't run away. It's time for the land bank meeting.
Yeah.
Like to call the land bank meeting to order. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, moving on to new business, the RGG consent and estoppel affidavit.
There's, this is the same thing that we discussed during city commission meeting, asked if you approve the consent and estoppel agreement with RDG, so that they can access construction loan funds to be able to produce those 4 homes on lots 1 through 4 and St. Just subdivision.
Anybody?
And so moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Seeking a motion to adjourn.
So second.
So motion and a second to adjourn. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.
You can go. that word,